If you keep breaking those commitments that you make to yourself, essentially you're just devaluing yourself and you don't even take yourself seriously anymore.
Welcome back to the channel. This is Jessica and I'm Melissa. And in this video, we're gonna talk about the 3 things you need to do to have a successful 2023. I cannot believe it's gonna be 2023.
I don't even know where 2022 went. Like, I vividly remember it being December 2021 and being like, wow, 2022, like 2021 felt like a very long year.
It did. I will say, I don't like even years. I think that like 2023, I just feel like it's gonna be a good year.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a good year too.
It's like the number 23, just it feels good. It feels right. It feels like a nice like 2023, like 2022. It's a lot of twos.
Yeah. 2022. Yeah, but this year went by like this. We're looking forward to 2023. I feel the same way. I feel like it's going to be a really successful year for us. Let's talk about how, everyone else can make it a really successful year as well.
But before we do that, make sure you like this video, go subscribe to our channel if you're not subscribed already, and hit the little bell that's floating around someplace that's going to notify you whenever we drop a new video.
Before we even start about what you need to do to create success next year, 2023, we need to understand, like, what does success even mean to you?
Like, a great question.
What do you want, right? Because that's one thing I don't think anybody takes enough time to really stop, sit down and say, like, well, how am I defining success? And I think with defining success, you also need to define what failure looks like as well, right? Because if you're just like, I want to lose 20 pounds and I want to do this, I feel like most people, when we're talking about success, we're kind of equating it to weight loss, right? Like, if I lose 20 pounds, that's what I want. It's like, okay, but is that all that you want? Like, if you lose 20 pounds, but you can't get out of bed in the morning because you have no energy, or you lose 20 pounds and you lose all of your muscle mass as well and you can't run around with your kids, is that success? If you lose 20 pounds but you can never have an ice cream with your family, is that success? I think we need to get really clear on what does success look like? What are the things that you want and what don't you want?
I don't think anyone has ever told you to think about what success means to you, because especially in terms of weight loss, because everything that's out there is success is these big transformations. It is someone is successful when they lose so much weight. But have you ever talked to that person who's been a success story? Did they keep it off? Because I know a lot of you on here who watch this have been in a situation where you have been that success story and then you gained it all back. Redefining what success means to you is going to allow you to enjoy the journey while you're on it, versus just being miserable and almost just suffering through what you have to do to get to that successful moment, when in reality, when you hit that moment, you're probably not going to be as happy as you thought you would be.
So I think that's first things first, defining success and everything that is encompassed in success. So examples of that, I want to lose 20 pounds, but I want to do it in a way that, it feels like a lifestyle, in a way that's going to allow me to eat my favorite foods and have a glass of wine and have ice cream with my kids and go out to dinner with my husband and go on vacation and not gain it back. We need to kind of look at all of that, right? I want to lose 20 pounds, but I don't want to have to kill myself in the gym 7 days a week. And I don't want to have to run 8 miles a day. Understand what you do want and what you don't want. And you always say that, right? Make a list of what you want and what means a lot to you.
I love my T-chart.
And
on one side, let me take this.
Okay.
Make a chart. On one side, I want you to write down everything that brings you fulfillment. And then on the other side, I want you to write down, you can almost make multiple, and then kind of write down, whatever diet you're doing. Just kind of check off, can I still have this on this diet? Can I still do this on this diet? If you can't do the things that bring you fulfillment, and yes, there always are gonna be things you have to sacrifice when you're on a diet. That's a given. But if it's kind of the majority of things, I can't go out to dinner because I'm eating prepackaged meals or shakes. I can't get ice cream because, whatever. I can't have pasta with my big Italian family because, big in number, not big in size, big Italian family because I'm on keto, then it's not gonna work for you.
Right.
And so that's why you need to actually prioritize and be mindful of the things that do bring you fulfillment in life, because if you can carry those and have those things with you on your weight loss journey, then you're gonna be so much happier along the way.
3 things that you need to do to have a successful 2023. Define like whatever success is to you first and foremost, and then we can start to deploy against like how to create that success. First things first is identify the areas where you self-sabotage, and then let's get a plan in place to counteract that. When I mean like areas that you self-sabotage, go back and like play the highlight reel of all of the diets that you've done in the past and all of the times that you've like fallen off track. And let's start to see if there are any patterns where like you actually routinely fall off track. Do you fall off track when life gets really busy and you don't have time to, you know, create meals at home? Do you fall off track when, you know, like work gets super stressful and, you know, the emotions, the stress, all of that takes over? Do you fall off track when you go on vacation because you don't have, again, like control over foods you're preparing? Do you fall off track because you have a big Italian family that likes to get together and have, you know, Italian dinner every Sunday night and you can't have it? You know, you keep doing keto and then that causes you to fall off track. So understand those areas where you self-sabotage and then start to get a plan in place to counteract all of those, you know, opportunities that, you know, pull you.
And it really is important to bring awareness to areas where like where your weaknesses are, because if you don't truly understand like your patterns, you're never going to be able to fix it. So that's why, like with anything, like you kind of like collect data and then you can look at it and then you can take steps to fix it. But if you don't have that data, if you have no awareness, there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it.
Number 2, you need to establish a foundation of healthy habits that you can show up to even on your absolute worst day, okay? And I think for most people, when you're starting a weight loss journey or a journey into health and fitness, we always think of like, what is the most amount of things that I can do and pack in all at once? So like on my best day, I'm gonna be able to only eat 1,200 calories and I'm not gonna eat any sugar and I'm going to go to the gym every single day at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm gonna get in 10,000 steps and drink a gallon of water. And you start to like have this laundry list of like, on my best day, I'm gonna be able to do all of these things.
And then you kind of like set that as like your like bar.
That's
of
the
like,
benchmark.
That's your benchmark. And then the reality is, I don't know about you, but like likely don't have your best day every single day.
How many best days realistically do you have like over the course of the week, right?
So if you do the opposite, like what Jess said, and you figure out like what are the habits that I can do no matter what on my worst day, like this will get done no matter what. On your best day, you should be able to do it no problem.
I think that is so important. Like literally put yourself in a thought experiment where work is the most stressful it's ever been. Your kids are driving you absolutely crazy. You have no time in the day whatsoever. You're already getting up at 5 o'clock because your commute's super long. You're already getting home at 7 o'clock because you know, you had to stay at work late, whatever it is, like think about all of the possible things that could create like your absolute worst day and then set that as your benchmark. What are the habits and actions that no matter how terrible my day is, I'm still going to commit to showing up to? And it can be really
crazy things.
Yeah,
it can be really simple. Like I'm gonna drink water. Like I'm gonna get my water in, or I'm gonna get my at least 5,000 steps in. Right. So like let's say on your best day, like you know that you can get 10,000 steps in. Well, on your worst day, you probably won't be able to do that. So let's just set like the benchmark if you're just starting out of on my worst day, I know I can get a gallon of water in and I can get 5,000 steps in. Now you know I can do this every day, no problem, because even on the worst possible day, I can still do that.
And that's where we need to kind of start small. I don't think that we should say on my worst day, I'm still gonna get in 10,000 steps. Like realistically, you're not going to. And that's why like, you know, bringing the level down to 5,000 steps, that's something that you still have control over, right? You can walk laps in your living room if you have to. You can walk up and down the stairs to get steps in if you really need to. Same thing with water. Everything else is going terrible. You can stop at a gas station and get a bottle of water. You can chug water before you go to sleep. You can chug water at your desk.
You can chug water angry. You can chug water when you're sad. You can chug water like literally whatever it is. Just drink water with whatever emotion. So.
Right, exactly. That's why it's important to find like realistic things that even like when everything else in my life is falling apart, that is the one thing that will be a steady and it will be a constant in my life that I'm not going to let like, you know, I won't fall off track. And then number 3, you need to practice pre-planning, setting commitments, and then actually showing up to them. A lot of times we get into the habit of trying to, you know, do things on the fly and you try to make decisions like as you're going. So I went to bed last night and it's like, I'm gonna get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm gonna go to the gym. And you're like, okay, alarm goes off 5 o'clock in the morning and you're like, nope, I'm too tired. I want like 2 more hours of sleep. I'll go to the gym during my lunch break today. And then you get to work and work is too busy and you're like, I can't go now. I'll just go when I get home. You get out of work and you're like, I'm exhausted and I still have to cook dinner and pick up the kids and do all of the things. I'll just go tomorrow at 5 a.m. And so you keep like trying to plan things on the fly. You don't actually have like a set plan in place that you are willing to keep your commitments to. And so instead of trying to hope that things are going to happen, hope that things fall into place, it's really important to sit down and like look at your week holistically, set out like that bare minimum of what am I going to show up to this week.
Yeah, and I think that like the whole keeping commitments thing and like just kind of relying on like, well, I hope I can make it to the gym. Like if you think about being like in a work environment, you're not all gonna sit around at work and be like, I hope we can meet this week to talk about this project. Like, no, someone puts it on the calendar, they send you a calendar invite, it's there, you show up to it. It's the same thing for the commitments that you make to yourself. It's like, you have to sit down, look at it, be like, okay, I can do this at this time, I can do this at this time. Write it on your calendar. Hold yourself accountable to it and actually go. That way you're not leaving it up to chance. Because the more you leave things up to chance, the less likely you're going to actually do it.
Yeah, and I think like to take it even a step further, right? Like you keep commitments for other people. If you make a plan to like go on a lunch date with your best friend, chances are like you're not going to be canceling that 8 times in a row and the next day and the next day and we'll meet the next day, right? Like that's probably not happening. Or with your child, like they need to go to the eye doctor. You're not gonna be like, well, I hope that we can, find little Johnny an appointment to the eye doctor. Hopefully I'll show up to
I don't
today.
feel like going today. We'll take you tomorrow. Boy.
Yeah, and maybe not tomorrow because like I'm too tired tomorrow. We'll take you like a week from now. We'll take you next Monday. And like you keep kicking it out. You don't do that for anyone else. So why do you keep doing it to yourself? And that's the problem is, if you keep breaking those commitments that you make to yourself, like essentially you're just devaluing yourself and you don't even take yourself seriously anymore. Imagine if you had a friend that every single time, hey, we're gonna go do this. Okay, cool. And you're really excited about it. And then
everyone knows someone like that, by the way.
Yeah.
And every time they say something, you're just like,
yeah, okay. Yeah. But then like you start to just be like, I don't trust you and like you actually annoy me and I don't want to hang out with you anymore. That's what you're doing to yourself when you keep breaking those commitments to yourself. So instead of doing that again, like be realistic, right? And make plans for yourself that are going to get you closer to your end goal. Even if it's, waking up in the morning and I'm going to get 1,000 steps in before I get in the shower. Like Melissa said, block it off on your calendar and show up to it the same way you'd show up to a work meeting or your kid's doctor appointment or a lunch date with your best friend. And you'll find that the more that you keep those commitments to yourself and you keep reinforcing promises that you've made to yourself, the easier it becomes over time. I hope this was helpful and I hope that you'll start to put into practice the 3 things that we talked about in this video to set you up for the most successful 2023.
I wish we had like the... Okay, maybe Rico can add it in at the end.
Confetti!
Confetti.
You would have killed me if I got a confetti gun.